Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
The rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
They're getting the dirt bags off these trees.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Thunder rolls, the fire's in the sky. We've been waiting for this moment all our lives. The darkness gathers, the evil takes its form, but side by side we ride into the storm. They thought they could blind us. into the storm, into the storm. Together we ride into the storm.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. Welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday, except for this week because I'm going on vacation tomorrow. But man, I was watching the chat and someone said that, Josh, you're going on vacation when everything's happening. And like, I know. I don't know. You guys are ready for it. I'm ready for it. Into the storm. The storm has begun. Oh, let's buckle up. So, very interesting. I am going on vacation tomorrow, so no show Thursday and Friday. I will be back with you. No show Thursday, Friday, and Monday, and I will be back, I believe, Tuesday. So I'll be back Tuesday night, or yes, I'll be back. Oh, I should be back Tuesday night. Yes, so I'll be back Tuesday night. I had to check my calendar just to verify. But man, it's you're right. A lot is happening, and it's a bad time to go on vacation, but it's a good time to go on vacation, and I need a vacation. You know, I've been working in the sun the last few days. I've been building a deck, and like, I don't know if you guys have ever built a deck before or built built something, but like, you look at the dimensions, you're like, oh, that's pretty small. Make it a little bit bigger, put some bigger numbers on there, and then you lay it out and you start building it, and you're like, whoa, this thing is massive. It's pretty massive. I won't forget you guys. Come on, don't forget me. If I come back Tuesday, I don't want to be like 5 people watching. Everybody's like, we moved on from Josh. Tonight, our live Q&A. Live Q&A tonight after this show. It's going to be a short one. It's going to be a short one. I have to leave here at 2 a.m. to catch my flight. But it is going to be a short one. I'll probably only stay for 30 minutes, but the chats are open all night for everybody. So live Q&A after the show. So I will post that link in all of our premium chats, Substack, Locals, YouTube Premium, X Premium, and socialredpill.com. So everybody has that. And those links are there. And if you just go to redpills.tv and you go to that premium tab, you can find that. We got some news. We're going to go through the news. I have a short recording that I did earlier with Bob Barlow, and Bob is a friend of mine. He is one of the founders over there at Gratus Funds, and Gratus is one of the sponsors of the Red Pill Project, of everything that we do. You've met Jason, who comes on and does the economic analysis. He's been very, very busy, so he's like, hey, let Bob go on. So Bob came on, and so I'm going to play that here in a little bit, so you guys can get that information, because it's actually really good information. I thought it was freaking phenomenal. So Bob's an awesome dude, by the way. Look, one of my golfing buddies. But let's get into the news. Let's rock and roll and knock this out and see why the storm has begun. And this is like, I'm putting this show together tonight, and I'm going through and like, oh my God. Like, are people paying attention to what is being said and what is happening? Man, you guys are awesome. We'll never forget you. You need a break. Yeah, I sit out in the sun and my face gets darker and my beard gets whiter. Look how white this thing is, man. Look at that. It's soft. You know why it's soft? Soft disclosure. Soft disclosure. Only Badlandia would know that. So, if you've been on X or listening to the news at all today, one of the headlines you've heard is that the U.S. House of Representatives has just passed an anti-Trump Iran war powers resolution to rein in military action, 215 to 208. Wow. So they finally passed it in the House, right? Yeah, not necessarily. The headlines are very misleading. So The House did not legally block President Trump from military action against Iran. Understand that. What passed was a non-binding concurrent resolution. In other words, it's just big words to say that Congress gave their opinion. Essentially, a political statement expressing opposition to expanded war without congressional approval. It does not end military operations, restrict commander-in-chief authority, cut off funding, or carry the force of law. What it does do is signal growing resistance in Congress to another prolonged Middle East conflict and reassert the constitutional debate over war powers. There's a big difference in the headlines that are being put out there. But I wanted to put that out there because people are like, oh my God, burn it down. No. Now, one of the interesting things is there was 4 congressmen that joined sides to vote for this. Now, it's a signal to Donald Trump of who's with him and who's not. Obviously, Tom Massey was in there. But there was one congressman, Representative Tom Barrett, who voted for this. Now, that's interesting because back in May 8th, Donald Trump endorsed Tom Barrett. So Tom Barrett gets endorsed. Now he votes against Trump's war powers, basically to start the argument. I think that he's going to lose his endorsement, or at the very least, he should lose his endorsement because, I mean, you don't vote against the man. Don't vote against Donald Trump to rein in on his powers. Man, can never forget you, Red Pills TV. You guys are so sweet. Well, so for everybody out there, I did put my email out there. So I'm gonna have lots of time just sitting on the beach, just sipping margaritas. Send me emails. Get me entertained. redpillstv@gmail.com. redpillstv@gmail.com. Send me emails. Say, what's up, Josh? How we doing? Keep me updated on the news. That'd be cool. All right. Bill Pulte. You know, we talked a little bit about this last night. So Donald Trump appointed Bill Pulte acting director of national intelligence. The language here is very specific. Number one, is you have Marco Rubio acting as Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor of the President. You have Scott Bessent acting as Secretary of the Treasury and Commissioner of the IRS. Now, Senate has not pushed Trump to fill those positions, although they need to be backfilled. Now he's doing it again with Bill Pulte. Now, Bill Pulte is a massive Trump loyalist. I know he's a trust fund baby, all this stuff. That's put to the side. Understand that this man is basically loyal to Donald Trump, and he is a placeholder in the ODNI for Donald Trump. So whomever Donald Trump appoints to basically critique and push Bill Pulte through, Bill Pulte is going to do exactly what Donald Trump says. And this is what people are so scared about on the left and on the right. Now, the White House put out a post today. Now, like I said, language is important. Language is so critically important. What does this say? Let's bring it over here. What they are saying, Bill Pulte will be an outstanding acting director of national intelligence. Guys, Trump didn't nominate him to become the next director of national intelligence. Trump appointed him the acting director of national intelligence. The White House is reiterating it right here. Acting director of national intelligence. Now, I do believe that Trump is going to appoint someone completely different to that position. This could be very similar to what we saw with Matt Gaetz being appointed attorney general, and then we know he's not going to get Senate confirmed, and then you bring in Pam Bondi. It could be very, very similar to something like that. Now, Carolyn Wren on Bannon, listen to what she has to say here. The whole thing, but listen to some of it.
Keep in mind, this is the same Senate that had no problem having a weaponization fund that paid each of them $500,000 when the government over J6 targeted their phone records, even though, Steve, my phone records, your phone records were taken in the exact same way as these senators. And apparently, if any normal people outside of the Senate had access to a weaponization fund, as these senators allowed themselves to, then the meltdown starts. So it's really a joke. But like what's really happening here is that these senators are saying if Bill Pulte is the director of national intelligence, then they're going to block the FISA reauthorization. Which to me, I'm like, great, sounds good to me.
Yeah,
like, I actually think it's poetic.
call their bluff right now. Screw the Pfizer reauthorization. We don't want it. If that's what you're going to do it today. To tell us, don't wait for 9 days. Do it today. We don't want it. This is another.
We don't want it.
This
Like,
another. This is another jackboot. This another jack. This is a jackboot on the American people's necks. Get rid of it. We don't care. Let it expire. But Warner, yeah, they're all, they're so wanted because they're all deep state.
There it is. Because they're all deep state bureaucrats. Now, I want you to think about this. We've talked about this multiple different times of term limits for Congress. And anytime that you get them on a big news channel, they're all like, oh, yeah, absolutely. We want term limits. None of them want term limits, people. We had a congressman on this show a few years back. And that was one of the questions that my brother Jason, the co-host, asked him was, how do you support term limits? He said, no, I don't. He goes, I don't want someone else to do the job that I do well. But also you have to think of the perks and the benefits. The longer they stay, the bigger the pension. Not only the bigger the pension, the more deals and information and the higher up that they rise up in the committee positions. It's about power. It's about control. Congress and Senate, it's about power. It's about control. So understand this. They are all deep state. They are freaking out that Donald Trump has appointed acting director of national intelligence. I'm going to give a shout out here. Barb Miller on YouTube, Super Chat. This one is for the first margarita on the beach. Oh, thank you, Barb. I appreciate it. And then Diesel T on Rumble, $100 Rumble rant. Enjoy your vacation. Thank you so much, Diesel T. I appreciate it. Thank you. But this is what I want to show you, is that there is absolute meltdown in Washington, D.C. There is panic in D.C. Now, why is that happening now? June. It's starting on June 1st. Why? You have to see how this is all beginning to roll out. Bill Pulte isn't anything special moving into the director of national intelligence. In other words, Bill Pulte is not going to be running ODNI. Bill Pulte is simply going to be putting his name on authorization documents. Declassify this, declassify this. Other people behind Bill Pulte, the White House and Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, are going to be running ODNI. What Donald Trump is actually doing with these various different positions by appointing Scott Bessent over as commissioner of the IRS and appointing Marco Rubio as national security advisor, what he is doing is he is keeping a tight circle of trustworthy people that he knows are loyal to him, of which the White House team is then running those positions and has accessibility into those areas, IRS, ODNI. This is so important because the next stage that we're moving into is the declassification of certain documents. Now, it's not like Tulsi Gabbard wasn't trusted to do that. I do believe that Donald Trump trusted Tulsi Gabbard to do exactly that. But Tulsi Gabbard, obviously her husband, I believe, was attacked by the intelligence aspects of this. So Devin Nunes left Trump Media Group and is now consulting for ODNI through a National Security Council working group. Who else is on a National Security Council working group? Oh, General Michael Flynn. And I noticed people put out there the other day, he's got a FARA agreement and he's working for Russia. Yeah, we've said this from the get-go, that he is the liaison, the intermediary between Putin and Trump, utilizing Kirill Dmitriev. Said this multiple times. You have to be registered for FARA about that because he's acting in context of the government with another foreign government, and there's things being exchanged there. Now, going into Bill Pulte, I think what we are going to see is a process to begin removing massive amounts of people from our government. Specifically, I'm looking for something too. Specifically, career federal workers, also known as the bureaucracy. Now, remember, we are in the midst of drip, drip, drip. This is everything that the Trump administration is putting out, a little bit here, a little bit there, start to string together and you'll begin to see a bigger picture being played out here. So the idea of the first Trump administration, General Michael Flynn had this idea as national security advisor, was to basically shatter the intelligence community up into 1,000 different pieces, right? Remove the deep state bureaucrats, the holdovers, etc. Get rid of them, because you have hundreds of thousands of people that are integrated directly into our intelligence community. When in actuality, you don't need all of these various different three-letter agencies. You only need one or maybe two. I believe Bill Pulte is being brought in the interim to begin the process of removing the deep state infiltration into the intelligence community, and for the declassification aspect of what's happening next with the grand juries that are occurring. Now, is there any indication at all from Donald Trump, his team, that this is the case? I mean, just the timing of all of this. Trump signs an executive order moving career federal workers into at-will roles. Wednesday, Trump signed this executive order that moves 8,000 federal workers in policy roles into new class that makes it easier for the administration to fire them for misconduct and poor performance. The order moves the employees from a protected status into an at-will position, including high-ranking officials at the top of the government civil service, known as GS-15s. It's coming. Remember just a month ago, Brennan came out and said, well, we still got contacts in the DOJ and in three-letter agencies. Not anymore. They're about to gut it. At least that's my indication, is we're about to see a consolidation. That's the word I was looking for. A consolidation of the intelligence community. Now, we had a primary election last night in California. And are you surprised by California? Donald Trump came out and he congratulated Steve Hilton for coming in first place. He did. Look at this right here. And listen to the video behind it.
Primary, it's also still to be determined. So all these races still too close to call for what happens next. But you can look at your screen and see how close it really is with the Republican on top. This is California. Boy, they are getting a shakeup.
Yeah, it didn't last very long, did it? But this is what I want you to understand. Trump congratulated Steve Hilton on becoming in first last night in the California vote for governor. He says Californians are smart, which I know they are. They'll put Steve in the governor's mansion and watch that state get better at a rate that he's probably never seen before. I know Stevie is a hard-driving winner, and he will turn California around quickly. Well, interesting. Because what happened soon after? A late mail-in ballot drop came in. Republicans lost by a lot. 2% lead was reduced massively. So the mail-in ballots are flowing in for the California ballot, governor's ballot drop. Only 55% counted per NBC. Xavier Becerra got 26,000. Now, notice that Steve Hilton only got half of that. These are mail-in ballots. What is going on here? They are stealing the California election. Steve Hilton, I believe, has already came in second and close third place right now. Pratt is in third place. This isn't good. Now, MJ Truth said, last night I watched one single election batch of nearly 25,000 votes get distributed to every single LA mayoral candidate except Spencer Pratt. Remember Wisconsin? Because that's what happened in Wisconsin. I'm going to give a shout out to these guys over here. Boycott YouTube, $20 Rumble Rant. Here's a little something for vacation. I, for one, will be here when you get back. I appreciate you. AOB 22, $10 Rumble Rant. Josh, appreciate all you do. Couldn't imagine sleeping through one of the most significant times in world history. Yes, what a time to be alive. I agree. Appreciate you guys. Now, is it interesting that Trump is doing interviews the last 2 days? And one of the things that Trump said is, we know who rigged the 2020 election. Let's listen to this. Not that. That's just a little post with some words on it. This is what we're going to listen to.
There's a lot of problems inside.
Look, we had a rigged election.
we can't have a rigged election.
No.
You know, we can be nice about it. We can be politically correct. Oh, I don't want to say. I used to say that a year and a half ago, the election was rigged and the cameras would literally turn off.
Yeah.
And the anchor would say, sir, you're not allowed to say that, you know. Now nobody ever turns off the camera because it's been proven to be rigged. Look at what happened in Georgia. Look at all the stuff that we found out. It was a rigged election. Biden lost in a landslide.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, to think that this could happen. Now, because of that, we have Russia, Ukraine. That would have never happened with me. Because of that, we had open border with 25 million, in many cases, criminal, not all.
And fentanyl deaths.
Everything.
Yeah.
He was a worse president. And we were laughed at all over the world as a country. We're not laughed at anymore. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world.
So
we have
how
the most
do we...
successful country anywhere.
He's right on all that. But what did he say? It's been proven the 2020 election was stolen. And he's also getting briefs on all of this. So California, they're trying to steal. It's going to take weeks to count all these ballots. Now, if they're going to count all the ballots for weeks and Steve Hilton loses and Pratt loses, we have a problem. But was California another setup like Virginia? Are the federal government, are they watching? Is the director of national intelligence having a 3-letter agency spy on these elections to capture in real time how this is actually working and operating? I think so. I would say if they're not, they're fucking stupid, because you have these elections that you know they're going to try to steal right there in front of you. Mail-in ballots dropping. You put cameras or satellite views of the ballot boxes. You can see a truck pulling up and dumping 25,000 ballots. This is what needs to happen. Will the DOJ act on it? That's the question. I think that we're going to see some massive revelations in the 2020 election fraud, which will spark a national emergency on election integrity and infrastructure, which then will bring about something happening in November, like a red wave. Interestingly enough, I heard that Ken Paxton was just visiting John Thune's office in the Senate. Are they making deals? Ken Paxton, I mean, I could see Ken Paxton going in, or I could, I'm going to say this because this is just the thoughts in my mind of what my mind's saying. So we're hearing rumors that Ken Paxton, who just won the primary over John Cornyn, which is Cornyn is Thune's good friend. Thune endorsed Cornyn. Trump endorsed Paxton. Paxton just went into the Senate Majority Leader's office today for a meeting. What was discussed? Did Trump go to Ken Paxton and say, I will endorse you, but I don't want you to accept the endorsement. I want you to give it to Cornyn, but I want you to do that by making a deal with John Thune. Think about that. What happens if Paxton drops out after the Save America Act is passed? John Thune pushes the Save America Act passed through Senate. It gets passed. It gets signed into law. Ken Paxton drops out. Cornyn gets to stay. It's just a thought, but I could see that type of leverage being utilized. Donald Trump today, Vice President J.D. Vance and Republicans are doing a great job hunting down fraud in various states. Billions of dollars is being found, and we've just started. If we found it all, we would literally be able to balance the budget and simultaneously reduce taxes, cutting them even more than I already have done, which is a record. Amazingly, Democrats are fighting us all the way. This is something that I am surprised at because I thought this would be a bipartisan effort. It's looking like they are in on the act. The Democrats don't want us to find hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud. This goes down along with men playing in women's sports, the transgender mutilization of our children, mail-in ballots, no voter identification, and no proof of citizenship, and scale of ridiculousness. Now, notice how he labeled this here. And I know you're not looking at it, but he goes, I'm surprised because I thought this would be a bipartisan issue, but it's not. The Democrats don't want us to find hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud. And then he labels women's and gender sport, transgender mutilization, mail-in ballots, no voter identification, no proof of citizenship. He labels all of the various different agenda items that the Democrats and the left and the liberals use that stolen hundreds of billions of dollars to pay for. All right, Marco Rubio is an absolute champion. We're going to get into some Marco Rubio clips because this is really where I'm talking about that the storm is coming. The storm has begun, because what Marco Rubio has been dropping over the course of the last few days is absolutely freaking epic. If you are listening to him, understand that Marco Rubio knows this government inside and out. Over 20 years as a U.S. Senator, now Secretary of State. He's seen it all. He understands it, and he is calling it out to its face. Before we get into these posts, though, I got to go ahead and read this one real quick for Rumble. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you can actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of banks holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you are in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt the pain. Now, fast forward to today, everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. I used it yesterday. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. Scan that QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. Awesome. And I'm telling you, crypto is going to boom here soon. Marco Rubio, short clip here, but we got a few of them. Listen to this.
But there's no doubt that when you have people showing up with pre-printed signs 24 hours after Nicolas Maduro was arrested and extradited to the United States, that's not an organic movement.
What did he just say there? 24 hours after Nicolas Maduro is extradited, you have people showing up with pre-printed signs in protest. That is not organic. He's right. And he's hinting at something. The funding mechanism was USAID, right? We know this. What the heck? I must have skipped a whole. No, hold on. Where's all my Rubio? Oh, there's another Rubio post that would have went great with what I was just saying. Oh, well, there it is. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's what I was looking for. What he's talking about here is the utilization of taxpayer dollars that flow out through the NGO network, so on and so forth, that then go to fund all of this. And it's not being done by necessarily domestic organizations. It's being done by globalist organizations that have their own agenda. Listen to this one.
This goes right to the criticisms that I keep hearing from that side over there about us not spending the money because we got rid of a USAID program. USAID basically was a program. It was a system that was completely devoid of our public policy. It operated almost as an independent State Department, and oftentimes USAID was operating in contravention and contradiction of what the embassy was trying to accomplish in the host country. And one of the complaints you would get from many developing countries is that they would get flooded with NGOs that were picked for them. These NGOs would then operate in the country without even coordinating with the government, doing whatever they wanted and pursuing what they wanted. And in some cases, it extended well beyond food and medicine. It extended to political interference and all sorts of other activities in these countries that were undermining the national interest and the credibility of the United States. Now, these compacts in particular are promising and exciting because they are government-to-government arrangements. No longer do we put money into a bucket and says, this is for vaccines, or this is for medical care, or this is for standing up clinics globally. We are doing it individually, country by country. And the reason why that makes sense is because every country has unique needs. Some country may need more help in some area than in others. But at the core of this arrangement that we're making with countries is their desire and our goal to ultimately help them build their own national health systems so that eventually they no longer are dependent on foreign aid.
You know, listening to Marco Rubio there, it's almost like he's listened to what I've said over the last year. That is exactly what we've been saying. Everything from wartime funding into Ukraine, NGO funding, United Nations funding, the World Health Organization, all of this, USAID, the National Endowment for Democracy, all of this was funding mechanisms that went out to sponsor and support globalist agendas internationally, overthrows of third world governments to control the natural resources for other countries, or to funnel that money back into the United States of America, into the coffers of the campaigns of various different Democrats and even some Republicans. Give a shout out to S. Baker 8, became a premium subscriber and also gifted one premium membership to Mike Demore, 9259. Awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. We'll see you guys hopefully on the live Q&A tonight. So Rubio, again, confirms something else here. Not confirmed. He's telling you exactly what he is discovering as Secretary of State. Listen to this.
Senator Luna.
Secretary Rubio, thank you for being here today. I was wondering if you could let me know if you are familiar with the name of Neville Roysingham.
Yeah, he's I think an American millionaire living in China who's funding all of these left-wing radical loons.
Correct. When you were on Senate Intelligence, you had actually sent a letter encouraging the Department of Justice to look into him for a FARA violation. For those people who will see this clip later on the internet, can you just briefly explain what FARA is?
It's the Foreign Agent Registration Act, and it means if you're operating on behalf of a foreign country, you have to register and declare yourself as such.
To provide some context for those looking at this, Mr. Singham's in total given $1.3 million to an organization called Code Pink, as well as over $278 million to various nonprofits since 2017. Secretary Rubio, it's in my opinion, observing what's been happening on both sides, really contributing to the political divide in this country, that many countries are engaging in influencer operations to include psychological operations on the American people with the intent to undermine not just our foreign policy from the administration's perspective, but also to pit us against one another. Would you concur with that statement? There's no doubt, absolutely. Are you aware of any countries in particular that are currently engaging in this?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that we see evidence of it from the CCP. We've historically seen some of it as well from Russia historically in the past in a different way. I think you're starting to see some of it from Cuba, and I think some of these are linked with one another. In fact, that group that you just mentioned actually traveled to Cuba, stayed at a very fancy and expensive hotel that is sanctioned, and I think are now being looked at by the appropriate officials to see if they violated U.S. law in the trips that they're taking. But there's no doubt that when you have people showing up with pre-printed signs 24 hours after Nicolas Maduro was arrested and extradited to the United States, that's not an organic movement. Someone's paying for that.
So much said there. What Luna threw Rubio is called a softball. She knew his response already and framed her questions perfectly for his response. Neville Roy Singh is a billionaire who lives over in China and funds privately much of the CCP's agendas in the United States, including a lot of the various different protests that have turned violent, including the current one in New Jersey and the ICE riots that happened in Portland and Minneapolis. And Marco Rubio even pointed out that right after Nicolas Maduro's arrest in extraditing to the United States, that the next day, 24 hours later, they had signs all printed up. And because they are on top of it. They have the greatest one of the greatest intelligences in the world, the Chinese intelligence. Chris Erickson, $5 Rumble Rant. You're the best, Josh. Thanks for all your hard work. Appreciate you guys. So Rep Luna says, after I questioned Secretary Rubio on Code Pink and their ties to the CCP, their organization followed me out, berated me, and then the head person in DC smacked me. She didn't smack her. She tapped her on the arm. But I understand her concern. It was a tap on the fucking arm. But either way, it's not that the part that we need to be concerned about. And I hate when they do this because they're drawing the concern away from what actually happened here. In the last year, one thing that we have learned is that the CCP is funding universities. The Stanford Review just came out with breaking information yesterday that over the course of the last 3 to 4 years, Stanford has received millions upon millions of dollars from the Chinese Communist Party linked organizations. Now, why? Well, at the same time, go out there and start looking at Ivy League universities and the Chinese American educational exchange programs of which professors in the American universities go over to China in education exchange. This is why China funds these universities specifically. We saw this actually begin to happen at like the first tranche of it. In 2008, Barack Obama initiated through the State Department an executive order for educational exchange programs to be developed up with China. It was 2008, because in 2009 is when he actually brought the CCP in China into the U.S. electric grid. It basically handed over all control of the supply chain of the U.S. electric grid in 2009 over to the CCP. But in 2008 is when he established something known in China as a 10,000 Talents program. And what happened over the course of the next 8 years was China funneled tens of millions of dollars into various different universities. And nobody thought anything of it. And various different professors, science, technology, STEM, all of this would go over to the various different universities in China, and they would fly over there, they stay in hotels, and then they come back and everything's hunky-dory. But then something happened. See, when you start to look at all of this and you start to realize that there's something off with this situation, because when Trump came in 2016, they shut down immediately. Mike Pompeo's State Department shut down immediately all of those programs, and the DOJ began investigating and actually indicted over 32 college professors on tax evasion because of what happened. Now, the tax evasion claim was just to get them into a room to debrief them on what happened to them in China. I can tell you what happened to them in China. But how did China know which professors to take? Well, this goes back to Hillary Clinton's emails. Hillary Clinton on her email server, home email server, had over 38 emails that contained classified programs known as SAPs, Special Access Programs. The various different classifications of SAP programs, there's CAP SAPs, there's USAPs, there's WUSAPs, there's all different types of SAPs, unacknowledged, waived, all of these different things. The Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, Charles McCullough III, testified in front of the House Intelligence Committee in 2016, prior to the 2016 election. And when he was asked specifically about Hillary Clinton's emails on SAP programs, the chairman, Chavez, said, "What was in them?" And he said, "Classified. I can't tell you." McCullough said, "Classified." The AG said, "Classified." He said, "Well, can we go to a skip?" He goes, "Even if we went to a skip, I can't tell you." He goes, "Well, why is that?" He goes, "Sir, I'm the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community. I have the highest security clearance in our government, and I couldn't even get read into these programs. They had to give me and my team summary briefings. These are the highest, most classified secrets of our country." Now, through a little digging, you can begin to find out what was in those emails. Why? We know with Hillary Clinton's email server that there was metadata that ran a script every time that Hillary Clinton forwarded or replied to an email address. It was Jake Sullivan is the one that gave her access to these various different SAP programs on her SIPR server. But here's the thing is Sullivan and Clinton should have never have been on that, on those distribution lists. So somebody put them in there, but besides the point. When that metadata would run, or that script would run in the metadata, it would send a blind carbon copy of the email that she was forwarding to a Gmail address, of which that Gmail address was accessed through CCP-linked IP addresses. We know this. This was in the Horowitz report. And it was only 38 emails that she forwarded. Just happened to be every single one of those SAP-level emails that she received, that she forwarded to that Gmail address. Now, what was in those Gmails? Well, you go to the professors that China brought over, 32 professors indicted. They all had NSF, National Science Foundation, DARPA, DOD, Department of Energy, or NASA grants. These grants are actually intermediaries of funding that work on various different special access programs at the university level. In other words, the Obama administration allowed China to come into our universities. China would fund these universities tens of millions of dollars. They would hand select the scientists that they wanted to come over to China. These scientists had high security clearances and were working on special access programs. Scientists would be brought over to China. They'd be put up in a hotel room, and about midnight, Chinese intelligence would come in. They would put a 45 in this person's mouth, and they would bring in probably some little kid, and they would make them do horrific things. They would put it all on video, claim that they're going to ruin their life, and now you work for the CCP. And then they would brief them, and they would get all their intel, all their information. They would make random trips every 3 months to China to go out there and give them their research. And China did this over an 8-year span, which advanced their military 40 years in less than 10 years. So when we're talking about China, this is one of the biggest ones. People think Israel controls the United States. No, China is deeply infiltrated in the United States, and people do not see it. So in the last year, we've learned the CCP is funding American universities. Oh, yep. Stanford Review, tens of millions of dollars. And it's still happening. By the way, what I just talked about, even though it was shut down in 2016, is still happening. The CCP is funding U.S. universities, Stanford, Harvard, Yale, everything. Hundreds of millions of dollars. And guess what they're doing? Professors are still flying to China and doing deals over there. They're funding activist organizations. We just talked about Neville Roy Singh. They're running illegal biolabs. How many illegal biolabs or linked CCP associates through the NIH have been busted with monkeypox or COVID or various other smallpox or various other viruses in the United States, or running biolabs out of storage containers? They have illicit police stations operating in various different cities throughout this country. I've heard about 124. They have various different honeypotting operations. We found one right next to the UN building right before Donald Trump's last speech. What you had was 100,000 cell phones set up in an intelligence gathering network. A few weeks later, you had 300,000 of those cell phones in a network in New Jersey. And guess what? There's plenty more distributed throughout the United States of America. So you have police stations. Not only that, is they funded much of the mass illegal immigration. Everybody talks about how the illegal immigrants came up through the Darien Gap, but they don't tell you that the Darien Gap connects Panama and Venezuela. And that means that many of the illegal immigrants, Northern Africa, Middle Eastern, Chinese, were in Venezuela before they came over to Darien Gap into Panama. Well, there's a problem with that. How the fuck did they get to Venezuela? They had to fly or take a ship. Who paid for the ticket for the plane or the ship? China. It's one thing nobody's talking about. But something's interesting happened here. Top U.S. general just showed up in Caracas, and nobody's paying attention. General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, has arrived in Venezuela to face-to-face meetings with its leaders and its government. This is huge. I think there's going to be a defense cooperation agreement with Venezuela, and the U.S. is going to start moving military resources and assets into South America to stop the fentanyl, drug trade, cocaine, everything. I think that that's going to happen. Now, what does all of this indicate that the storm has begun? Listen to what Marco Rubio is saying. Listen to what Donald Trump is saying. Look at what Dan Kane is doing. Dan Kane is over in Venezuela. Well, why? Well, what if they had some information that military intelligence would probably want to know? Marco Rubio is laying it out, the corruption of the intelligence communities and their utilization of USAID, of the National Endowment of Democracy, of various different taxpayer funds that are being utilized by the State Department to basically develop another State Department through USAID, which is controlled by the CIA and various other intelligence aspects, to go out into foreign countries, steal their resources, overthrow their government leaders, and put that power into the hands of a small few that do not answer the Congress. That's what this was all about. And then not only that, is that small few then would utilize a lot of that money for the agenda based here in the United States of America to bring about this liberal new world order that was developing over the course of the last 100 years. Trump is talking about all the various different fraud, Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP fraud, welfare fraud. We haven't even gotten into the welfare fraud yet. That's going to be trillions of dollars. Now think about what that means. The same idea that was being utilized in foreign NGOs to funnel money back into the Democrat coffers was being utilized in the United States of America at the state level, and state complicity is massive within this. And it's typically all the blue states. I don't want to say the red states aren't involved, because they are, but it's typically all the blue states. What were we seeing? We were seeing fake citizens, people with names, citizens on paper only, names being created, bank accounts being created, money flowing in, and nobody actually exists. You have people that were collecting massive amounts of SNAP and welfare and all of this different types of money that never existed in the first place. On the second part, you had Medicaid, Medicare fraud. You had businesses rising up, NGOs rising up that didn't do anything. They were just a business in name only, and they were collecting millions upon millions of dollars. This was happening in every single freaking state. Where was that money going? Well, how do you think these billionaires became billionaires? Oh shit! More this OG dude. Either get on, like you're either with us or you're not, man. If you're not, get the fuck out of here. Some dude in the YouTube chat, Nate. You head over to the YouTube chat. You'll have fun over there with him. And Nate's like, Roger that. I got more news to get into, but I do have to bring Bob up, and I want to talk to Bob for a minute. So there's more news to talk about here. We got some Iran stuff to talk about, Netanyahu, Israel stuff to talk about, and then some Hunter Biden stuff to actually talk about. But guys, so Gratus Capital is one of the sponsors of the Red Pills TV for over the last year. Jason Weimer has came on the show different times. He gives an economic brief. And so today I sat down with Bob Barlow, and he talked a little bit about what Gratus does. So we talk a little bit about, they have two different funds. One is SEC regulated, which that it's a Reg D, so we can't market it or anything like that. So I don't want to get into any of that, but this is actually the Reg A fund that we're going to talk about here. And this is an awesome conversation with me and Bob. So I will be back in just a few minutes after this.
Equip you for a mission. You are on this earth for a reason, gifted with skills, abilities, and passions that equip you for a mission only you can fulfill. This is your purpose to uncover, your mountain to climb. Every person has a purpose, and every purpose needs a plan. This is why Gratus exists. Gratus Funds offers alternative investments whose powerful wealth-building characteristics, historically limited to an elite few, are now available to all. Utilizing this powerful asset class, our desire at Gratus is to provide you the financial fuel to better explore who you are and why you're here, so you can climb faster and live a life of greater meaning and impact. Simply put, our purpose at Gratus is to help fuel yours, to accelerate your investing journey today. Gratus Funds, where purpose drives performance.
All right, everybody. So Gratus Funds has been a sponsor of this program for a while now, and I wanted to bring on Bob Barlow. So we've had Jason on multiple different times talking about gold, silver, and crypto and everything that's going on in that world. Today, we're going to be bringing Bob on from Gratus Capital. Bob, what's up, buddy? How we doing?
Hey, Josh. Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So, we've had Jason on quite a few times.
Oh, yeah.
And Jason comes on, we do the economic breakdown, and he's been really busy lately, so we haven't had him on. But we got you, and people don't know, I've known Bob and Jason for a little over a year now, and they're awesome human beings, and what they're doing at Gratus is just amazing. As you saw in that video, they're helping everyday average Americans get into these types of investments that are typically reserved for the large wealthy class. So they're doing a great benefit to humanity here. So with Jason, we talked about gold and silver and all this stuff, but we're going to be talking about a different asset class today, aren't we?
Yep. Boring old real estate.
Well, talk to me a little bit about Gratus's real estate fund, what you guys have going on there.
Yeah. Well, essentially, just looking at real estate in general, it's tangible. Everyone gets it. People understand what it's like to either rent a place or to own a place. And most people, I think if you ask around, most people generally think real estate is a good asset to own. If you look at how wealth is passed, from generation to generation, real estate, it's always there in the headlines. And as a fundamental thing, people always need a place to live. So no matter what's going on in the world, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. People need a place to live. And so real estate and homes and housing and land is always going to be an important piece. And we simply wanted to create, help people get into the space, because typically, personally, I think owning a rental property is probably one of the greatest ways to learn about entrepreneurship. And so, like, if you have an opportunity, or maybe you've already owned a rental property yourself, or people on the show, but I think it's a great way to learn about how to run a business, because you learn about profits and losses and balance sheets and equity. And you learn what it's like to have a tenant, and you have to market, and you have to retain a tenant and take care of people. And it's an amazing thing. And most of the time, you're probably going to make money, unless you do something really stupid, which sometimes people do. You could lose. But the problem that happens, or what people run into, is really, if you do want to own a rental property, it's a part-time job. And maybe you're going to get lucky and you get a perfect tenant who, takes better care of the property than you do and never calls and has problems. Their toilet never breaks, whatever the case. But the reality is that's not going to happen a lot of the time. And so it's a part-time job, and you have to know what you're doing. And so we wanted to create a real estate fund to help people access real estate and to be able to invest into it in a passive way, where they didn't have to take away from their job or take away from their family, and they could still participate in the asset.
Now, how does this operate? What is the structure of this fund?
Sure, it's a general partner, limited partner. So Gratus, we go together and we put the fund together. We lay out the rules, the objectives, what we're going to buy. We invest some of our own money into the fund ourselves, and then we invite friends and family to invest alongside of us. And then our objective is to go out and buy a handful of large properties and generate cash flow and grow equity over time.
Now, let me ask you this, because there's a ton of different websites out there, tons of different apps where you can kind of partition your ownership and properties and stuff like this. This is different. This is actually a fund that's regulated by the SEC, correct?
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So it's if we're going down regulations, a Regulation A fund. And so what that means is we have the ability to we had to submit our whole business plan to the SEC, and they had to qualify it. They don't approve or disapprove of it, but basically they say, hey, you can go out and market this fund. Where most funds, there's a ton of real estate that's owned in private funds like this, but most of these funds are limited to accredited investors only, or they have really large minimums. And our fund, we had to do a bunch of work, get it approved, and then we're able to go accept money from accredited or non-accredited investors and have a more reasonable minimum for people to get into and participate.
Now, what are the ways that people typically allocate money? Is this just cash? Is this monthly? Is it like IRAs?
Yeah, great question. Primarily, I would say cash is the lion's share. People will make a cash investment. There is an opportunity to do some IRA, like people can use a self-directed IRA to participate. But yeah, cash and IRA would be the lion's share, but mostly cash in this fund.
Now, as a company, you guys are very faith-oriented. This is a kingdom mindset for people and helping God's kingdom come forth. You talk about a little bit about that for me?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think if we look at even like Gratus, Gratus is Latin for gratitude, just going back to like the name of our company, and like we're grateful for the opportunities that we've had. And we want to share those opportunities with people. So that's part of our mission, is how do we help the regular person get into deals that are normally limited for a very select group of people. And then secondly, from a kingdom standpoint, this also points back to the video a little bit. It's like there's two parts of it. Is one, if you want to take your mountain, if you want to do what you're put on this earth to do, because we really believe that people are on this earth for a reason, and our current system, our current government, our current, whatever you want to point your finger at, like, it's broken. People don't have the mind space. They don't have the time to go for a walk with God and be like, hey, what am I here to do? What difference can I make? Because they're too busy working their second, third job, trying to pay their electric bill, trying to just replace their 5-year-old appliance that's a piece of crap that's just made cheaply. And so the whole mission in everything we're trying to do is, one, is we want to invest in alternative assets to help people with the goal of can we achieve a little bit better return with lower risk, right? And that's not guaranteed, but if you look at alternatives and institutional funds and what they're doing, that's what's happening. You can get it. There's the opportunity for better return with a chance for lower risk, right? So, and if you can achieve that, a better return can equal years of your life, right? If you're getting a 10 or 11% return versus 7 or 8% return, that can equal retiring 5 years earlier, which means more time with your grandkids, more time to make an impact, right? So if you can grow capital at an accelerated rate, that's one thing. But if, that's what we want to do on the fund side. So if you can grow capital and you have a lot of money, but you don't have a mission and a purpose and the character for that, you're probably going to hurt yourself and hurt people. You look at lottery winners, right? They get a bunch of money and then it's like, well, what do I do? I'm going to do a bunch of dumb crap and, go bankrupt. On the other side, if you're a really good person, you're like, I know what God's put me here to do and I'm going to save the manatees or whatever the case. And I know my character, I'm, straight as an arrow and I do everything right, which, no one does because we're all broken humans. But you're trying, but you don't have any money. It's tough to make a difference. Now, there's a lot of great nonprofits. You can get monthly donors, you can get subscriptions, and it can be an effective way to do to make a difference. And a lot of people do that. But ultimately, if we can help people grow capital and then help people grow in their calling as well, that's really the whole mission of what we're trying to do at Gratus. And that leads to is there's a lot of corruption and brokenness in our society. And we need kingdom entrepreneurs to rise up and run stuff. We need better schools. Well, who do I want to be, starting new schools? Kingdom people or the enemy's people? Who do I want to be starting better health insurance program? Kingdom people or the enemy's people? Who do I want to be running as politician? Kingdom people or the enemy's people? And so there's all these different areas of influence that we need people to step up and take responsibility and go make it happen. But a lot of that starts with having some money and having some character to be able to go do those things. Awesome.
Now, let me ask you this, because typically with something that's new, people are relatively kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to go into that. This is not new. You guys have been around for a while and you have performance track record to talk about, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So Gratus started in 2008, actually. So, almost 20 years ago.
Wait, you started a real estate fund in 2008?
Yeah. Well, that was the first, it was all family money at that time. So we didn't have any outside investors. And I think that's an important thing to note is this company wasn't started to create products for people to invest in. This company was started to invest our own money because we had an opportunity. We had a little bit of money to start with. And when you're investing your own money, you can't lose, because if you lose your money, it's like, well, who do you go to? You can't go to yourself and be like, hey, I need another investment because you're out of money. So we started investing our own money. And so we had to be very conscientious of risk, but also how do we grow and compound this for generations? And so after, doing that for 8-9 years, growing and compounding our own capital and be like, hey, this works. We've tried it. We've done it. We have experience. It was around 2017 when we started our first fund where we invited friends and family to participate because we're like, hey, this is working for us. We have friends and family that we love that they can't participate in deals like this and they don't have the time to do it. Let's have them invest with us. So in 2017, we had our first real estate fund. That fund we still have today. It's been chugging along and doing well. And then in 2022, we opened this current fund. We launched this thing in 2022 with the goal of really, we learned some things from the first fund that's still doing well, but we went after bigger properties for a handful of reasons. And this fund's been around since 2022, and we've been able to buy a handful of properties and do some good stuff with it so far.
Now, how does it work with the properties? Do you guys go out there and find fixer-uppers? Do you do multifamily complexes, big apartment complexes? Do you guys build your own?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. We're going after large institutional grade properties. So one thing we learned over the years, we started buying single family homes in Minneapolis in 2008, right? Single family homes are great. You can make good money. But in our first fund, one of the things we learned is we had I think in that fund we had 20 single family homes and an 8-unit apartment in that fund. And these are spread across like the St. Cloud area. So like I live in the Twin Cities here. We invest, that fund was mostly in the Twin Cities area. So we had one hailstorm come through and hit like 12 properties in one night in 12 different cities. Oh. And it was a nightmare. Like 12 different insurance claims. It was absolutely bonkers and terrible. And we got through it. We still made money on those properties. Like it was all okay. But it was like, man, I don't want to deal with all those different properties at once. Let's move into apartments where you just have one roof over several doors. So then we had an 8-unit apartment and a 32-unit apartment. And those had some advantages, but also they were not as great because they're not big enough to really get efficiencies of scale, right? At our 8-unit apartment, like we have no amenities. It's like, hey, you get a parking spot. That's your amenity. Our 32-unit apartment, you get a parking spot. We have one of those little in-ground grills, a picnic table, and then there's a dog station for people to pick up their dog waste that no one uses. Those are the amenities there. So with this fund, we want to go to economies of scale and go to properties that are like 100 units plus, because when you get into that big of a property, now you can have an on-site property manager. So your tenants are better taken care of. You have on-site maintenance. So you're not paying a maintenance guy to drive to your property every time. You can have a fitness center. You can have a yoga room. You can have a coffee bar. You can have a mail room. You can have all these amenities that ultimately attract better tenants. Tenants pay more. They take better care of it. They stay longer. Your turns are less expensive. You get better financing because they're bigger properties. So in this fund, that's what we're doing. We're going after those big properties. And we've been partnering with developers to build new inventory. Part of that serves the modern tenant, again, because tenants these days, they don't want some old stale building that, doesn't have a coffee shop and all these things. Right. And then we're building in places where there just hasn't been inventory. There's no good places to live. And so we're building new, beautiful properties that are attracting great tenants.
Dude. Well, yeah. This is awesome for everybody out there who's been wondering about real estate, wanting to get into real estate. What I'm recommending to you right now is go have a conversation with Bob and his team over at Gratus, even if you just want to talk and get a little bit more information. They did provide a link. So if you go to Gratus Funds at redpills.tv, GRATUSFUNDS.redpills.tv, and this will also be on our website, and you can find that under the Gratus link on the main menu. You can go in there and fill out the form, and then Bob and Bob's team will contact you and give you some more information if that's what you want. But I know that a lot of people are listening. They're like, real estate, I mean, that's how Trump made money. That's where everybody who's wealthy puts their money, is in real estate. So this is one of those things that if people are looking for long-term growth, this is one of those things that they should probably contact you guys and get a hold of you guys and get some more information. So I'm hoping that people will go gratusfunds.redpills.tv. Bob, I appreciate you coming on with me today, and we will definitely see you again. We're going to be going golfing here in a few weeks. So, but I'll definitely be seeing you here on the show another time. So appreciate you, man. Take care.
Sounds good, Josh. Take care.
All right. So that was Bob. That was Gratus. Gratus is a sponsor of the show, and phenomenal people over there, man. I can't even begin to tell you. They are the nicest, kindest, most gracious people in the world. And so they've been a sponsor of this show for over a year now, and I absolutely love them. And that's what they have over there. They have a real estate fund. And you notice, I don't do the gold and silver. I'm not sitting here going, hey, guys, you need to get in gold and silver. You need to do this. I used to do that, and long stories. But anyways, I don't do that anymore. I'm looking for my audience is something more structured, something that is better fitted for my audience that they can get into, that's long time, that's secure, that's going to give them a long-term benefit. So I hope that if anybody is interested, they can go out there to gratusfunds.redpills.tv, gratusfunds.redpills.tv, and check that out. And fill out that form, get a hold of Bob's team, and let me know that you guys are working with them, because they are phenomenal. So appreciate all of you guys going through that. I know some people are like, oh my God, I hate these. Listen, this content is free. I appreciate you guys. You guys are amazing. But, you know, we do have overhead. And we have sponsors for a reason, because I use them. I use every single one of my sponsors. And so if that's a message to you, I hope that you take that as, you know what, you can trust these people. And I don't know why we got GOODBRU up there. GOODBRU is another sponsor of the show. All right. So tonight, or yesterday, we talked a lot about Trump's call with Netanyahu. Now, I called this. I said it on X. I said, I bet Trump is going to call Netanyahu and he's going to drop a few S-bombs. And what did Trump do? He confirmed exactly that. Oh, yes, he did. Let's pull this up real quick. Listen to this.
Which you were angry with him. You said, are you effing crazy? What are you effing doing? I helped you stay out of jail. Is that true? Did you speak to him in those terms?
I did. I wouldn't say angry. I was a little bit perturbed at his constantly fighting with Lebanon. You know, at some point I said, Bibi, we got to stop this. We got to stop it.
He goes, I did. He did drop those F-bombs. He did put Bibi Netanyahu in place. Netanyahu turned around his forces, which was a cabinet-approved attack. In other words, what we were telling you last night is who leaked the information about that conversation? Trump leaked the information about that conversation to show who's really in control of Israel. I thought that was great because there's a lot of people like Israel is controlling everything. No, they're really not. They did at one point. I agree with that. I think that, you know, that, and by the way, you know, you can't correlate Israel necessarily with what I call the Jewish mafia or the power brokers. They're not the same thing, but it's a conversation for a different day. Trump on the negotiations with Iran. Very interesting choice of words he uses here.
The negotiation itself has gone very well, actually. Very well.
Mr. President, yes,
It could happen. I mean, if it happens, and it might not happen, you know, who knows? But if it happens, it could happen like over the weekend.
Mr. President, yesterday.
It could happen over the weekend. Now, this is interesting. He also came out and put a red line. And he said, look, you know, we hit them and they retaliated and hit a few of our bases. He goes tit for tat. This was interesting because it's literally what we talked about last night. He said, he goes, as long as U.S. service members don't die, there's going to be no more bombs that drop. And that's really interesting by Trump. Now, what are you seeing on the left narrative? On the left, not only the left, the globalist narrative. Here you got Mario Newell, and he's been having them all on. I don't know if he's getting paid for these or what, but Colonel Larry Wilkerson, former chief of staff to Colin Powell, is worried Iran might already have nukes. This is the fourth fucking interview Mario has done this week about Iran has nukes. Notice the trend coming from former CIA types. Nukes, Iran has nukes. No, they don't. If they did, they would have already have shown the world. They wouldn't have used them, but they would have shown the world. Now, why is this important? 2019, Donald Trump ordered mass bombings in northern Syria, southern Iran. These bombings, I believe, targeted underground facilities, nuclear facilities of Iran with B-2 bunker busters. And we destroyed their Iranian nuclear weapons program those times. It takes a long time to build all of that back up. And what he's doing is going in and finishing the job. If Iran had a nuke, the first day on the decapitation event when Ayatollah Khomeini was taken out, you would have saw Iran go out there and do a nuclear test. It would have happened. Because that is the show of force that would have stopped the war instantly. They didn't. Iran doesn't have a nuke. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've suspected they did. If they do, it's from North Korea. It's from China, not from Russia. Most likely China. Now, is it possible that they have parts of the puzzle? Oh, yeah. Is it possible that they have a dirty bomb or something similar? Maybe. Are they going to use it? I don't think they're that fucking crazy. I really don't. You know, one of the biggest revelations for me growing up in the end part of the Cold War with parents that, you know, lived through the Cold War and then a 90s child after the fall of the wall and everything is I realized that Everything we knew about the Russians that you were taught about the Russians was bullshit. It was all nonsense. It was nothing more than propaganda being utilized on the American people in the case that this country went to war with Russia, that the American people would back this country. That was it. It was all propaganda. Now you have to start looking at other countries in the same way. Now, do they have radical clerics? Do they have radical Islamic fundamentalists? Oh, yeah. And they led the government for a very long time, the theocratic aspects of the government. This was Khomeini and his clergy, of which they implemented many of those clergy members into the IRGC hardliners. But guess what? A lot of them have been killed off. A lot of them. The civilian component government are very, very smart guys. They're religious, but they're not radicals. And that's the one thing that Donald Trump, I think, is trying to show the world with the civilian component government and why he is kind of easing back. It's not that he's losing the war. He's not losing the war, and they could end this overnight if they wanted to. They've decimated Iran. What he's trying to do is he's trying to give Iran the chance to come to the table, to quell their own problems internally, come to the table and be a real fucking country. Like, let Iran be Pinocchio. I'm a real boy, right? Like, I'm a real country. That's what we need. I just realized I don't have the chat up. Oh, there we go. Kitty litter is deep doo-doo. Oh, yeah, it is. The European Union's share of the global economy has fallen from 30% to 17% in just 17 years. I love this. 17% in 17 years. We're talking about the globalist institutions, the globalist bankers. We're talking about the European aristocracy. We are talking about the New World Order, the liberal rules-based New World Order. And their share of the global economy has reduced over 13% in 17 years, in just 17%, and it's declining. Why? We've been calling this out for years, but the mechanisms that Donald Trump has put in place over the course of the last year have been the most significant against the European Union and European countries, specifically in the context of resource allocation and resource corridor accessibility. So the way that it worked for Europe for a very long time is they would utilize the United States of America's military through NATO joint control structures to fight their wars for them, to give them access and control, as well as infrastructure within various different countries in the Middle East to control the natural resources. That's how it's been done for a long time. Not only that, it was in South America, Central America, all of this. Those days are over, and Trump has turned the tide on them. Guys, I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to Hunter Biden lately, but what the fuck is going on with Hunter Biden? Have you been seeing what he's been writing on X? Like, okay. So this person says, bullshit, that was your bag of coke in the White House. And Hunter says, it most definitely was not. I would never have forgotten my drugs. He then did this whole bit on cocaine. And someone's like, he's like, I wouldn't blow cocaine. That's a waste of cocaine. I smoke crack. But then he goes off on this one. And I don't know if he's trolling or if he's being serious. Look at my brother in Christ. He's speaking live in the Oval Office right now. Hunter Biden. That's clearly a clone. Wait, what? Nathan June says he's literally live in the Oval Office right now, moron. Definitely a clone. He's literally signing executive orders right now. You can't fool me. That's a clone. Clones are everywhere, Jeb. Be careful. I don't know if he's trolling because people are calling his father a clone or if he's being serious and legitimate. This piece of news was really, really cool. Scientists have used artificial intelligence and decoded communication patterns in mice, dolphins, apes, birds, whales, and cuttlefish. This could eventually lead to technology to allow human beings to communicate directly with animals. That's pretty huge. All right, guys. We're going to go over to the live Q&A. Best way, redpills.tv. Go on over to the top part of the page, hit that premium, and you're going to see it. Socialredpill.com, socialredpill.com, YouTube, Locals, Substack, and X. If you are a subscriber at any of those places, I will see you in the live Q&A that's coming up in just a few minutes. And what you do is you go to the premium post in there, the premium post on X, premium post on YouTube. You go to the decentralized media chat on Substack. You go to your post feed on Social Red Pill and Locals, and you will see the link being posted here in the next few minutes. I'm not going to bother you with another Rumble ad because we did have the big promotion piece for Gratus. Remember, Gratus Funds, GRATUS FUNDS .redpills.tv. And I'm going to put that up real quick just so everybody can see that. Learn more at gratusfunds.redpills.tv. And that's a show sponsor and our channel sponsor. But guys, I love you. I think you guys are amazing. Thank you for all the fun chats. And send me some freaking emails. I want to hear from you guys. Send me some emails while I'm on vacation. I'll be sipping a margarita, going ahead and reading your emails. So send me some good stuff. Much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. I'll see you guys next week. Good night.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hand on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our history was known, with pride in the rules that made us our own. There was a time, respect for the brave, for those who bled, for the lives they gave. Now the homeland burns into silent war. Truth is twisted, we can't ignore. Voice still calls, we the people will not fall. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone, patriots rise. We are one, land of the free, home of the brave. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time when truth was clear, when the media served, not ruled by fear. There was a time when leaders stood fast, guarding the people, defending the past. Now corruption wears a crown, lies are fed to tear us down. But Q said watch, and Q said see. The silent war will set us free. From the front lines, soldiers stare, wondering if we're still there. Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a life's prize. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, the veil undone, patriots rise. We are one, land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. There was a time is near, the great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone, patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave, no more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time, there was a time, now is the time. Do it.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!